All right, YouTube, once again, it's Kennard, Vernon, and Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. We're talking about Arkansas week. Game is going to be taking place on the SEC Network at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Central. Kind of a pivotal game for Auburn. It's going to be a somewhat of an identifier to see where Auburn really stacks up in these SEC streets. So I'm going to do a video. This is my video that I'm going to do before I give my initial take on Auburn versus Arkansas as far as analytical and talking about what I think is going to happen, things of that nature. I want to address the Auburn fans, and this is specifically for the Gus haters, the folks that want, folks to talk bad about Bo Nix. And I get it. I totally get it. But I'm absolutely not in a way to where I'm going to do that, because to me that makes no sense. Because number one, Bo Nix is your starting quarterback. Malik Willis is gone. Joey Gatewood is gone. Outside of any injury, he's your guy. So you got to live with it. Number two, let's talk about some things that I think, if you're an Auburn fan coming into this game against Arkansas, especially some of you more emotionally tiered kind of fans, which is okay, because I used to be one. I was the kind of fan that, Auburn would lose, I'd be mad for a whole week, about to lose friends, all that stuff. So I totally get it. But what I want you to get is, coming into this game against Arkansas, here are a few things that to give you some security about the direction that Auburn is headed in. Mind you, Auburn just lost 27-6, only allowing 3 points in the second half. All this Kirby Smart called off the dog stuff, let that go. Kirby Smart absolutely did not call off the dogs. Auburn missed out on an opportunity to score score some touchdowns, but no. Starters were still in. Hey, just, that kind of talk is absolutely ridiculous. So, if I am an Auburn fan, thinking about this thing totally objectively, outside of my hatred for Gus, outside of my hatred for the fact that Auburn hasn't spent the money on facilities, all that other stuff, here are a couple of things that I'm looking for from the Auburn Tigers next week. Number one, I absolutely do not want my defense to give up 5 to 7 yards per play on first down. If Auburn does that, you might as well get on your sounding boards again, your fire Gus train again. But it's Bo Nix's fault again. But what we don't realize, and this goes back to Divine Mason's comment when I talk a lot about recruiting, because I understand that there's a direct relationship. I mean, I'm talking about a horrifically direct relationship between teams that recruit on a high level and teams that actually make it to the college football playoff, teams that put a lot of guys in the league, all of those different things. So if you see me or you feel like I'm overstating the power of recruiting, it's because it's not an overstatement. It's kind of sort of the truth. Look at all the teams that have been in the playoffs in the last few years. Look at the ones that made it. Washington didn't recruit as well as Alabama and the others, so they got blitzed in the college football playoff, right? Oklahoma getting torn apart in the college football playoffs, except for the year they played against Georgia. Probably should have beat Georgia, but what I'm saying is, I think it's kind of irresponsible for us to overstate or feel like there's an overstatement in the process of recruiting. Because if that's the case, FCS schools should be able to, with all this development that you guys talk about, FCS schools should be able to develop a guy or develop their team to be able to beat an Alabama or no. The reason why FCS teams can't beat Alabama is, hell, they probably actually have better coaches, but they cannot attract the best players. Who are the more successful companies in the world? The companies that can attract the most talent. And to make the transition from hire to performance a little bit faster. You don't want to hire. So let's just say some of you, I'm assuming some of you guys in the fan base or gals in the fan base are either in human resource management or might even be managers where you work. Who do you want to attract? You want to attract the person that will transition the fastest to get the job done. Not somebody that you got to show how to run a route. Not somebody that you got to show how to block. You need these people to know how to do this stuff when they hit the field or when they come into your job. You can kind of do your interview. You kind of look at their experience. And then next thing you know, you're like, man, this is a person that can immediately be an impact. You're not looking for people you got to pull your teeth to get them to do something. Like, say, for instance, a guy that was recruited as a defensive tackle and we're trying to convert him to an offensive lineman. That's what you guys are not looking at. And you're also not looking at the impact of, I get coaching and I get game plan, but everybody's got a game plan till you get smacked in the mouth. And Auburn literally got smacked in the mouth. I don't think the coaching staff took into account that the defense was not going to be able to stop Georgia on first down or not really be able to get them off the field. I don't think. And then once you get into that scenario, your coaching starts to get distorted. There's only so much you can do. And I'm not saying that they couldn't have done better, but I think when you go into a game thinking that one thing is going to go another way and then it doesn't, you have to adjust your total game plan. Auburn is in survival mode, 24-0 or 6 or whatever it was. And, you guys are talking about an offense, Chad Morris offense. I don't give a shit what offense it is. 24-6 against one of the best defenses in the country on the road. You could have put Bill Belichick out there and it wouldn't have worked. So another thing with this game I want Auburn fans to look at is when let's just say Auburn does beat Arkansas, which I pretty much think Auburn should. But it's going to be the way Auburn beats Arkansas that should give you an indication of how maybe the rest of the season could possibly go. Here's what you don't want. You don't want a scenario where it was 2018 and Auburn beats Arkansas 34-3 off of interceptions, punt returns, basically beating Arkansas because of the miscues they made. What you want to see in this game is you want to see sustained drives. You want to see inklings of things that will work against a little bit more talent, things that are a little bit more sustainable. Because I guarantee you, if Auburn beats Arkansas 35-3, and it's a whole bunch of fumble recoveries for touchdowns, and pick sixes, and all this other unrealistic stuff that's not going to work against a team of substance like your LSUs and some of your other Tennessees down the stretch. No disrespect to Arkansas, but I'm just saying, if you want to see a real indication of what Auburn can do, you don't want that kind of win. You want 3 and outs, right? You want good field position. You want good time of possession. That's going to give you an indication as to whether Auburn has improved from week 1 and 2 to 3 to see if there's some genuine progression. Because kickoff returns for touchdowns and all that other miscellaneous stuff, winning off of that's not going to give you the indication that Auburn can win out all the way to the Alabama game. And the last thing you want to know is, where is Auburn as on both sides of the line of scrimmage? Is there some push? Is Auburn able to run the ball? Is Auburn able to put pressure on the quarterback? Those are things you want to see in this game if you're an Auburn fan that will give you a sense of progression. Not winning off the opponent's miscues. All right, so we're going to get into the initial take for Arkansas probably tonight, maybe tomorrow. But this is a video that I just wanted to put out there to say, hey, if you're an Auburn fan, this is, or even a coach, shit, you just want to know where Auburn is identity-wise, because I don't feel like in either game, especially considering usually you find your identity because you can kind of slow the game down a little bit. But because you have an all-SEC schedule, you don't have that luxury. So you got to play it by ear week after week, and then not having fall camp, not having spring. Now, nobody else had it either. But I ain't talking about everybody else. All right, guys, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. I absolutely, genuinely love all of you all, even though sometimes y'all don't make no sense to me, and maybe I don't make sense to you. But it's all love, guys, Auburn fan base. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn if you feel compelled to do the whole Cash App thing, $ Kennard Stewart. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.